Hey guys, it's Acidic Doll, and today it's time for another silly tutorial video. This time I'll be showing you how I make these little GIF animations. Now, before any animation experts kick down my door, yes, I know there are better programs for animation. I know there are more efficient workflows. I know there are probably 17 different professional methods that would make actual animators cry when they see what I'm about to do. But this is how I taught myself to make GIFs. Every time I tried using proper animation software, my tiny gremlin brain would immediately go, absolutely not. Too many buttons, too many timelines, too much information. So instead, I found my own weird little method. Is it unconventional? Absolutely. Does it work? Also, yes. And that's all that matters. Bruh. So, if you're ever wanted to make simple animated GIFs of your characters, hopefully this video gives you some inspiration. Let's get started. First things first, for the art portion, you can use whatever drawing program you're most comfortable with. I will be using Paint Tool SAI because that's what I personally use. But Krita, Photoshop, Clip Studio Paint, or whatever else you like should work just fine. The animation part itself will be done inside Gimp. Now, before I start drawing, I like to gather inspiration. And by gather inspiration, I mean hoard a ridiculous amount of reference images like a dragon sitting on a pile of treasure. I save poses, expressions, funny reactions, cute character art, basically anything that makes me think, I could turn that into a GIF. For today's example, I'm going to use this image right here. This will be the inspiration for a little acidic bunny GIF. Now comes the drawing part. I start by drawing the character normally, just like I would for any illustration. One thing I highly recommend is separating things onto different layers. Eyes, mouth, head, body. Trust me, future you will thank present you later. Once the drawing is finished, I save everything into a folder called Frame 1 because this will become our first animation frame. Now it's time to create Frame 2. And don't worry, we're not redrawing the entire thing from scratch. We're artists. We're lazy. Efficient. For this frame, I lower the opacity of the original image and trace over it. You don't need to be perfectly accurate here. In fact, tiny imperfections are exactly what helps create that charming wiggle effect. Maybe the eyes are slightly different. Maybe the mouth moves a little. Maybe the hair shifts. I don't know what I said that because my bunny is bald. Maybe the lines aren't in exactly the same place. That's actually what we want. Now, here's the trick, and honestly, this is probably the biggest shortcut I use. A lot of people think I draw a completely new image for every single frame. Absolutely not. I value my sanity. Instead, I usually draw 2 versions of the image, even though in this one I did 3, but you know what I mean, guys. Just 2, okay? Frame 1 and frame 2. Then, when I put everything together later, I simply alternate them, like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So, I'm constantly reusing those 2 drawings. I'm basically tricking your brain into thinking there's more animation happening than there actually is. And surprisingly, it works really well, especially for reaction GIFs, pngtubers, vtuber assets, and little character animations. Sometimes just switching between 2 slightly different drawings is enough to make a character feel alive. Now let's work on the eyes and facial expressions. This is honestly where most of the personality comes from. Since this character is blushing, I decided to make the eyes slightly squished and more expressive. I also like changing the eye shines a little bit. For example, I might make the highlights larger in one frame and smaller in another. It's a tiny detail, but when the animation plays, it makes the eyes feel much more alive. For the final frame, I usually draw the eyes closed. Sometimes I even make 2 different closed eye frames. Again, not required, I just really like the effect it creates. The more subtle changes you add, the more alive the character feels. Now, sometimes I'm lazy, very lazy. And when that happens, I don't redraw anything. I simply take the original image and use a deform tool to slightly move parts around. For example, this acidic doll GIF right here. The second frame is basically just the first image that's been pushed around a little. That's it. That's the secret. Sometimes animation is just lying convincingly. And honestly, it works surprisingly well. Once all the frames are finished, we save them separately. I usually name them with numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. This makes things much easier later when importing everything. Now we move over to Gimp. Inside Gimp, I import all the images as layers. Make sure they're in the correct order. This creates a much smoother looping effect and makes the character feel like it's constantly moving. Once that's done, it's time to export. Choose GIF. Make sure Loop Forever is enabled. And make sure you're using 1 frame per layer. After exporting, we can preview the animation. And if the speed feels off, no problem. Constantly go back and tweak the timing until it feels right. Sometimes, a tiny speed adjustment completely changes how an animation feels. And that's it. That's pretty much how I create all those little GIF animations you see throughout my videos. They're simple, they're fun, and most importantly, there's something that anyone can try. You don't need fancy software, you don't need years of animation experience, you just need a drawing program, a little patience, and enough determination to convince your character to wiggle slightly. If you end up trying this method yourself, let me know. I would love to see what you create. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya!